question. But for the moment, I think fashion is a bit boring, let's say. Fashion shows are all the same, and you run from one city to another to see more and more shows, and at the end, probably writing on it, it's becoming really difficult because it's really all those days, and then it's starting again in January, February, and then you have preview, you have to run for that. So probably it's becoming a really very tiring business as well. So I feel we should slowing down, but how can we do that? Because, you know, it's fast fashion, also couture, you have to make collections in a few weeks. I mean, is this still feasible? Is this still luxury? And all those questions come to my mind, you know. It's not that I have the answers, but at least the questions are there. And we discuss it with my faculty and with my students also, and with myself. I have to be critical, because otherwise we are also lying to our students and say that everything is beautiful and good and everybody's making money and so on. So if you see the numbers, you see that, yeah, businesses are growing, you know, because of new customers coming from China and Russia and so on. But is it, if you take up this amount of customers, is e-commerce taking over? Are the shops empty? I mean, it's all those questions that I have to ventilate. And therefore, I think it's not really a comment or a critic on what's going on, but it's more finding solutions, alternative solutions, probably making bridges between cities who are not so fashionable, or making bridges with people who are maybe not in the right cities, but are in other cities struggling to find a way to show their collections. So it's bringing people together and debating. Probably that's also something that we can do. And talking about it, it's very difficult, because everybody will say, yeah, but we can't change the fashion system. It's something that, of course, when you see a show like Rick Owens, I wish I was there, because it's really a fashion moment, and that was what I was talking about, momenting the memento. It's okay, we have a lot of memories of the past, because I live in Florence, so there is Renaissance, but we can't look always back, so we have to look to the future with the memories we have, because we have so many memories of beautiful moments in fashion. And probably I'm searching for new moments, so I'm asking questions and probably putting things a bit more radical than a few years ago, because I'm more out of the system, so I can do that.
I thought it was interesting too what you said about fashion critics, and that's been a topic lately. And you mentioned Tim Blanks, who I think is he's able to crystallize things in like an instant. Yeah. He's somebody that went through college and graduated 18 years old or something. And Kathy Horn and Susie Menkes, and it's true there aren't many fashion critics.
No.
And you gave a sort of exercise. Yes. Do you want to talk about it?
I was thinking that we should more write on fashion in a more intellectual way, because it's not about journalism that I'm talking, but it's more about research. You have very few books on research on fashion, but not in a historical point of view, and not in a journalistic point of view, but more in a contemporary way, you know, finding new slogans, finding new ways of pointing things out and giving also answers. So I think if my students, and that's why I'm talking about it, if you read the text of Tim Blanks and you analyze every word of what he's writing, you have a book. You have a book, because he's touching so many fields, from music to art to literature to a mood or some moments in the past. He has so much inspiring words in one sentence that when you read his comments, you can write a book on the designer show. So I'm pushing also to read more and then probably also to write more, because it's one and the other, you know. We were saying also like writing a script for a book or writing a script for a video. It's all taking the pen, a white page, and you start writing on the computer, of course, or with paper. But it is for me, myself, also a frustration, because I was very bad in writing, and I'm trying now to understand also more different readings. I'm repeating my readings, and I'm trying to understand also the meaning of more philosophical approach on fashion, because you know it's all linked together to psychology and so on. So it's not that I want to bring fashion to a higher intellectual level, but I feel there is a need to have more people who can write. And if this is probably also a message, probably I have a fashion course on fashion writing starting, but it's difficult to get people into it, because it's absolutely not really a job profile, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that we have to feel the need of writing and reading on fashion. You have very few books who have that. For example, the Biennale of Venice this year on the Encyclopedia was an amazing exercise of reading art through psychology and through Jung and so on. So you have there a very high approach of what contemporary art could be, because it's not even on contemporary art, it's more on people who make art and express themselves through different ways of thinking, to sculpture or embroidery or writing or designing graphics that are coming from the subconscious. So I think it might be a good counterpoint to e-commerce. You know, you open your computer and you buy a dress. Okay, it's maybe a contrast here. So I feel we have to make a balance between that fast way of living, and I'm a bad example because I'm constantly also on my computer and on my iPhone. So we all do that. So I feel guilty as well. But I think maybe it's a good message, at least to try to go a little bit more in depth.
And the class you have now on filmmaking, the whole course, can you talk about that? Because that was only 3 years. How long has that course been?
We have a course on styling and also on brand management, where we also ask students to make a video. And they have to make videos on their concept of the designer that they want to brand and to understand their DNA and so on. So we have a lot of courses where video is coming in. Of course, we couldn't do better, so maybe you can come and teach, Diane.
Oh, I don't know about that. Yeah, but it's interesting. What kind of results have you gotten? Has it been?
No, we don't. We're still on the beginning. I can't say we are very far advanced in this course. We have to do better. I'm now working on a course that has all the different aspects of creative thinking in it, and this is the new course that I'm talking about. It's a course that touches all the different fields of creative thinking. It's craft, it's calligraphy, writing, it's body, the 3 dimension, it's dress, it's imaginary, where video and images are important, and it's also about space and architecture. And there I feel all the fields present to have a course of 1 year. It's more a sabbatical, where we can talk about doing things by hand, thinking in 2 dimensions, thinking in 3 dimensions. And also it's a lot of lectures, workshops, and doing and thinking and writing. So I feel it's something that is going to work. It's my non-linear learning, because I think for the moment it's a little bit too teacher in front of the students talking about his knowledge, and they have to absorb it, and then they have to make a final project. But if we work together, teachers and students, or more adults, because I think you need more maturity to do this, we will have together more an interesting project.
Yeah, I think that's something really essential, creative thinking. How do you come up with concepts, and how do you follow it through, and what's the process?
Yes.
And you're also talking about the Yellow Book. What was the name of that Yellow Book?
That's Hans-Ulrich Obrist. Obrist is a curator interviewing artists since many years, all over the world, always on trains and airplanes and traveling a lot. And he did some curating projects in his kitchen, and he's now working in the gallery in London, in the Barbican. But he's thinking, also working with architects. He's also talking about non-linear thinking and non-linear learning, curating cities as well. So I took a lot of inspiration of his book, and translating to education, translating it to our fashion world is really, I think, a very good bridge for myself, and inspiring for my faculty and my students.
And you just came back from, was it Shanghai or Beijing?
Yes.
Tell me a bit about what you saw there, and the inspirations or influences that you could bring back and incorporate.
Well, I was quite surprised, because it was my first visit to China, and so now I think I need to see also other cities. But Shanghai was quite, for me, a positive surprise. Beautiful city, very clean, very well cured, a lot of trees in the avenues, smaller areas where you can sit outside, a little bit the Paris atmosphere. So all this meant a lot to me, because I feel relaxed and at home. So if you feel relaxed and at home, you get inspired, and you meet interesting people. I was there because I prepared my visit quite well, because I had a lot of meetings before. I was invited by Shanghai Creative City. They are now in the Creative City of UNESCO, and because of the Expo in 2010. So they are now, after the Expo, a bit worried how they can go on being and becoming a creative city. And therefore, they invited me in a seminar, and I had lectures there as well. And
what was the topic of your seminar?
Also Momenting the Memento. It was more the future of fashion and art. I put it in a more, translated it in more into the art and the fashion scene. But
huge audience?
Yeah, the audience was also very huge, very good audience, fashion schools. But
and did they dare to ask questions, or too shy?
It was a debate afterwards.
Good.
Yes, there were not questions from the audience, but there were very good questions from the moderator. And difficult questions, like what fashion means to me, or, it's very difficult to answer.
So what did you answer?
I don't remember. I think I answered that it's an expression of a lot of experiences that you have in mind, and that it's also a kind of personal expression of who you are, you know, and that you have different fashions because you have different people. But yeah, I think it was something in that area. But I met people like Attila, who has an office of communication in Shanghai.
Ah,
She
yes.
does really good things there.
She's a friend of mine, and
yes.
she Andreina.
Yes, yes.
She has like 60 people working for her.
Yes, amazing. Yeah. So I was there. I met her associate. She's Taiwanese, and we had a good. I said, I'm here, and I wanted to meet you and see what we can do.
Fantastic.
And, yes. And so I met also Shawei.
Shawei,
yeah, she's also in your project.
Yeah.
I met her actually in Florence with the opening of Ferragamo Museum, and so we talked. And yeah, and we went to dinner together, and we were talking about young designers. And I said, there is one I really like because I did a lot of research. And she said, Chu Hao. I said, yes, that's the one, because I said, this is my favorite as well. And so she organized a meeting in his studio.
I
had the privilege to come in his studio. Really small studio, but fantastic, reflecting his own spirit. He made beautiful pictures. And also his photography is very interesting because he makes collages and skipping out parts of the pictures, and it becomes really very strong. And we sit together there. It was really nice because he knew me, of course, from Antwerp. And when I look at his books lying in his little studio, it was all about Antwerp. And, and also, of course, like the Linda de Bruckere, she's a very good artist, and he was inspired by her as well. And I showed him the pictures I took in the Biennale. So it was a very good. It felt all very normal and very optimistic in a sense that young people are there trying to make it happen, you know. And that's what I was looking for, the moments of when people come out and bring something and do something interesting. And he knows exactly how what not to do, you know. He says, I don't do this, I don't do this, I want to be myself. It's good, fantastic.
That's great. How old is he?
He must be 30, I think, 30, 35. He's not so young, he has a lot of experience. He studied at Centre Pompidou, by the way. Yeah, very nice person.
Does he make shoes as well?
I'm not sure, no, I don't think so.
And he sells in Europe, or?
I'm not sure because I saw his fashion show and it looked really good. It looked really very complete as a line, and but I didn't dare to ask where was his distribution. Maybe I should check because it was really beautiful.
Yeah, sometimes it's good not to ask. How about if there isn't
I
any?
mean, it was a stupid question, I think, in that situation, but probably his website is telling more.
Sure. So what are your next projects? You have China, you're developing a new course. Are you writing a book?
Yes, we're writing a book with Danilo Venturi. He's the writer. He's also the inspiration of Polymoda. He's really a very interesting writer. And he says that I'm his muse, but I'm saying that I am his student because he learns me a lot also. So it's a very good collaboration.
It's beautiful.
And it's a first book, but it's more a diary. It's more all the articles he wrote in one book. And it's not going to be a pretentious, beautiful book. It's more a sketchbook with the articles. But we are working on the conference in 2015.
What conference?
It's we are part of a member of the IFTI Foundation, the International Fashion Institutes, Foundation of Fashion Institutes, and every year there is a conference in a different country. So it was a few years ago. I was in EFM in Paris. Last year was in Jaipur. 2 years ago in Jaipur in India.
How was that?
Fantastic. Fantastic. Good reason to go to India. And Jaipur was really interesting.
Pink. Is it all pink?
Not really. People in the street are so busy. There's so much energy, you know.
I've never
You feel
been
that
there.
people are busy. They're very active, dynamic people.
And the next one is where in
The last
2015?
then was it in Los Angeles, but I was not there. And then January is now Tokyo, so I'm going to Tokyo, to Japan. I hope to see a few friends of mine and students, ex-students of Antwerp. And
That's great. Miki Osakabe,
Kanya Miki.
Way.
Yes.
I loved all of them, remember them.
I don't remember his first name. So many are there, and also we are presenting there the project, because normally in those conferences it's more about paper, and because writing is poor, as I said before, concepts are not so good, and lately they were a bit disappointing. So I'm going to work on installations in the museums and trying to put in a dialogue, a bridge between the past and the future, and so that's why we are working on that.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.